How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball. Welcome back to another episode of Review the Prem. Me and my brother going head to head in predicting Premier League outcomes. As you can see on the top of the screen, it's 362 to Sim, 352 to myself. And the way the scoring works, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's see how we got on over the weekend, starting off with Crystal Palace against Manchester City, which finished 4-2 in Man City's favour. Sim went for 2-0. I went for 3-1, so both us getting a point on the board here. Look, I think Crystal Palace did cause Man City a couple of problems on the day, but essentially Man City were just way too strong, and an incredible goal from Kevin De Bruyne there.
Yeah, and that was an important goal and an important time for Man City, because 1-0 down at Palace is not a position you want to be in, especially given the problems they've had against Palace in previous years. Palace seem to always cause City problems whenever they play against them, and when they went 1-0 up, you thought, is it going to be one of those days? Yeah. But what a finish from De Bruyne, and then it was pretty much one-way traffic from then on. Obviously, Rico Lewis giving Man City the lead, Erling Haaland make it 3-1, and then De Bruyne with another thunderbuster with his left foot make it 4-1, and then Edouard got a consolation later on. But pretty routine win in the end for Man City. 8 goals in a week for them, because they scored 4 against Aston Villa in midweek as well, and they didn't even have to play Phil Foden in this one. Didn't play. I don't think he played any minutes in this one. He was absolutely brilliant in midweek, and they had the luxury of resting and bringing De Bruyne and Haaland. It's not too bad, is it? And keeps up their title charge, and they're really bursting into form at the moment. They look very unstoppable with the amount of goals they're scoring. Yeah,
I guess we'll analyse the title race once we get through the other teams, but I do think Man City are coming into form in the perfect time of the season, going into the last 7 games. Going on to Aston Villa against Brentford, it finished 3-3. Both of us predicted 2-2, so a goal off each, but we got the draw right. But Aston Villa, raced into a 2-0 lead, and you're thinking, all right, is Aston Villa come to party? And then it all just kind of went wrong for them. I don't know. I don't really understand what happened, but a good performance from Brentford.
Yeah, I was watching this game. It was a really drab first half. Both teams are really not doing anything, to be honest. Brentford was sitting deep, looking to counter, but not really creating anything. Aston Villa had a lot of possession, but really created very little up until Ollie Watkins heads home after a really good cross from John McGinn. It looked like maybe it didn't cross the line and Bailey put it over the line, but the goal line decision decided it was Watkins' goal, so they did get an early lead. They did get a lead in the first half. I wouldn't say undeserved, but they weren't great. Second half, they start very quickly. Rodgers, within 30 seconds, puts them 2-0, and you're thinking, okay, it's going to be an easy day for Aston Villa, but it all started to go very wrong very quickly. It unravelled extremely quickly for Aston Villa after Jorgensen pulled one back, and then all of a sudden Reguilon came into his own on the left-hand side. Puts in 2 brilliant crosses, one for Mbeumo with a brilliant finish, and then runs in behind again and sits up Wissa, and within a flash, Brentford are 3-2 up. I don't think Aston Villa could believe what hit them, really.
3 goals in 9 minutes.
Yeah, they couldn't believe it, I don't think, Aston Villa. Really poor defending, though. The crossing, the defending from the crossing was absolutely horrific. And Villa have this tendency of capitulating. They've done it a few times now this season.
Sometimes they've got away with it, haven't they?
Yeah, against Luton they got away with it, but sometimes they haven't got away with it.
And against Forest as well.
Forest, they nearly capitulated, got it back to 3-2.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a few times they've gotten away with like this sort of like second half capitulation, and they kind of got away with it today on the weekend as well, getting that last with Ollie Watkins scoring with 10 minutes to go. I mean, if you capitulate like that and concede 3 goals in the space of 10 minutes, you don't really deserve anything out of the game.
Definitely. It was really peculiar, though, that Brentford decided not to start Ivan Toney in this game. I'm not really sure what the reason was behind that. Maybe they thought with Villa's high line, they're better off going with Wissa and Mbeumo with that pace they have in behind. And look, Mbeumo and Wissa both ended up scoring, but funnily enough, they both scored from crosses rather than the running in behind that maybe you'd think. But Mbeumo, with his first start since returning from injury, with a really nice volley, maybe him being back in the team can really give them that push to get them away from the relegation zone, because again, there's another game where they played well, didn't quite get the win. Obviously, the late equaliser from Watkins, really poor mistake from Flecken as well. He got out-jumped. You should never be out-jumped as a goalkeeper. It's really, really poor from Flecken. That point is good, but still only 4 points above the relegation zone. So as long as that is that tight, that's not going to be comfortable, is it, for Brentford?
They've done a few favours with Everton getting docked another 2 points today, though, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. In terms of Aston Villa, though, that's more inconsistent form again. And as you say, they have a propensity of giving up leads. Ollie Watkins after the game saying how frustrated he is that we're not. He said they don't behave like a big team when they're in the lead, and they have this propensity to give up points when they're leading. And obviously with that result they dropped out the top four, and disappointing for them. But look, it's still been a good season. They're still well in that top four race because they're still level on points with Spurs. But very disappointing. They 2-0 up and they gave it away so quickly.
Yeah, let's be honest. Like, what was it? 4 years ago they're in the Championship, Aston Villa. So I mean, for them to be where they're at right now is miraculous stuff from the hierarchy at Aston Villa. So I guess, with the way they performed all season, it'll probably be a kick in the teeth for them not to finish in the top four. Fifth could get Champions League this season as well. I don't see them finishing below fifth with Man United, how many, like 11 points behind or something like that. So, look, I think if they finish fourth or fifth this season, whether it's Europa League or Champions League, they got to consider it being a really good season.
But 1 win in 5, the wheels are slightly falling. Well, no, when they're falling off, but they would have hoped that they kind of wouldn't have this inconsistency.
Yeah, of course, but they've got other things to play for as well. They've got Conference League, which they're massive, well, not massive, but they're favourites to win it. So if let's say they finish fifth and win the Conference League, I mean, that's an unbelievable season for them.
But is it classic Unai, like late in the season?
I guess it is.
They do have a bit of he always falls off late in the league season.
Yeah, it'll also be classic Unai if they go win the trophy as well.
That's also true. Also true.
Let's move on to Everton. Burnley, a massive game down at the bottom. The Sean Dyche derby. It finished 1-0 to Everton. Sim went for 3-1 and I went for 1-1. Look, this game kind of panned out the way everyone expected. Not the greatest game of football. Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored on the stroke of half-time. Then Burnley went down to 10 men and they just couldn't find an answer after that. After 20 minutes to go, they had to play with 10 men. And I don't know, this kind of happens quite often with Burnley. They seem to, like, in big games, go down to 10 men.
Yeah, which is very frustrating for them. And also what will be frustrating was the goal they conceded, because Muric has the ball, the goalkeeper, on the edge of his own area, and it's very similar to the goal against for Liverpool in midweek at Sheffield United. Kicks it straight at Calvert-Lewin and it goes right into the back of the net. Is it any surprise that the two teams who have conceded a goal like that are the two bottom teams? Probably not, and that's probably why they're both there, to be honest. But imagine in such a big game, like, for Burnley to give them a fighting chance of staying in the division. Like, I think it doesn't get much bigger for Burnley than this kind of 6-pointer. Not only would it put them really close to Forest and Luton, but also drags Everton right in it. But they give away a goal like that, and that's your losing goal as well. I mean, how frustrated must you be if you're Company to give away a goal like that, and that's the goal that cost you. And obviously they ended up losing 1-0. They did end the game with 10 men, but they never really liked scoring, to be honest, Burnley, and that's a frustrating thing for them. You can't be giving away goals like that if you're going to stay in the league, and that could be a real fatal blow, that one.
Yeah, and as well, like, obviously Trafford's been playing all season, and he's made a couple of mistakes throughout the season, not filled the Burnley defence and Burnley fans with confidence in terms of his goalkeeping ability. Muric, who was their first choice goalkeeper last season, gets the nod over the last couple of weeks, and then he goes and does this. So did Trafford come back in next week?
Yeah, he might well do. Those kind of mistakes unforgivable. But for Everton's point of view, massive win, and even more massive now considering they've just been given another 2-point deduction, which I think leaves them, I don't know if, I'm looking at the table now, I don't know if this is including the points deduction or not, but I believe it leaves them only 2 points. I believe it's not including the points deduction.
That's not including it.
So I believe it leaves them 2 points above the relegation zone after that victory. So absolutely ginormous, but they're right in the thick of it now. Literally, in one game week, they could be into the bottom three without points deduction. So scary times for them, but a big win. But it was a win. It was their first win, I think, in 2024, because they've gone such a long time. It wasn't a performance, though, that would inspire much confidence, especially the way they scored the goal. It's like, wasn't exactly a goal they earned much.
Yeah, they got it kind of despite the performance, or in spite of it, whichever way you want to call it. But in terms of this points deduction, what a mess from the Premier League. First they get, 6 points? Was it 6 points the original? 6
reduced to 4, I believe.
So it was 6 and it was reduced to 4, and now they've added an extra 2 on. I mean, like, what a mess.
Yeah, because it's another charge. Apparently Everton are appealing it because they were 16 million over, and they're saying it's because of the stadium. They're 16 million over and it shouldn't go down as this year's loss. But there's an appeal, and apparently that appeal won't be heard until after the season. So this could be a very messy situation where Everton go down by a point and then end up staying up, or who knows what will happen. But it's a massive mess, and the Premier League should really think about how they conduct their punishments and stuff like that, because this limbo, it doesn't help anyone. I don't think it's the right thing.
This cannot be dragging into post-season. Like it doesn't. It's not fair on anyone involved. It's not fair on the teams in and around Everton. It's not fair on Everton. It's not fair on anyone involved. So the Premier League need to bring in a rule urgently that the deductions and everything has to be said like ASAP. Like they can't drag this on any longer.
Have to deal with all of it in the off season. I think there should be no mid-season points deductions or anything like that. All the financial years, they got to readjust it, because this whole thing is a nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to Fulham against Newcastle. Finished 1-0 to Newcastle at Craven Cottage. Both of us went for 2-1 to Fulham. And Fulham started off really strong and fast in this game and probably should have got a goal or two, to be fair. When Newcastle came back, Bruno Guimaraes getting a goal just before I think Newcastle had a goal disallowed from Shah as well. So really good 3 points for Newcastle against the Fulham side, who are playing unbelievably well at Craven Cottage.
Yeah, depleted Newcastle team as well. So really good win for them. Given the fact, they were 3-1 down against West Ham, ended up turning it around. They drew in midweek against Everton in a disappointing performance. So going away to Fulham, who have quite a good home record, you would have thought it would be a tough game, and it was a tough game, but they did sneak it 1-0, and they're actually in decent form now. Unbeaten in 3, won 3 of their last 5 as well. So they're not, maybe shoots of their form turning around a bit. They're only 2 points off Man United in 6th now. So even after the horrendous season they've had, they've got a pretty good shot of getting that last Europa League spot.
Yeah, they do, which will be incredible in terms of the injuries and the problems that they've had all season. So look, we'll see how it goes. But Newcastle, look, I've been kind of impressed with Newcastle. Maybe they've got massive defensive problems. Yes, they kept a clean sheet this game, but I think their attacking players have been performing every time they've stepped on the pitch.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up, Luton against Bournemouth. It finished 2-1 to Luton in a crucial 3 points for them at Kenilworth Road. Both of us went for Bournemouth wins. Sim went for 2-0. I went for 3-1. And what a result for Luton. And I think they deserved it, to be fair. They did go 1-0 down in just after a half-time break. And then it was a late show, wasn't it? 75th minute and the 90th minute winner from Carlton Morris. So you got to give credit to Luton. That is a massive 3 points.
Against a very informed Bournemouth side as well. And I was watching some of the game, and Bournemouth in the first half, they were the ones creating the chances. Tavernier hit the post twice, I believe. Tavernier hit the post, and then Cliver hit the post. And it looked like Bournemouth, it was only a matter of time before they took the lead, and they did take the lead through Tavernier. And you thought, is it curtains for Luton? Do they have enough fight in them? But to be fair, in that second half, they really turned it around. They were the ones putting Bournemouth under pressure. They were the ones making all the running, and some crucial substitutions, bringing on Cauley Woodrow. He set up the winner for Morris as well, and obviously Clark with the equaliser 50 minutes to go. Doesn't get much bigger than that for Luton, and you could see the celebrations after the game, how much it meant to them and how much it meant to Rob Edwards. They knew it was a massive result. I think they knew this was a result they needed if they had a realistic chance of really staying in this league, and it couldn't be much bigger because they're now level on points with Forest, with Everton's deductions only 2 points behind Everton. So it's real massive relegation dogfight now between those three at the moment, and Luton really giving themselves a fighting chance, especially with their performances at home.
Yeah, and this year the Premier League is just on a different level, isn't it? When you're looking at the title race, when you're looking at the relegation race as well, the relegation dogfight. I mean, I've never seen anything but so close with so many teams at both ends.
Yeah, it's really, really tight. I mean, I think I've seen the relegation with a few more teams involved, I would say, but with Everton's deduction, Brentford still involved. We'll talk about Palace later, but Palace could be dragged into it as well if they're not careful. So, we spoke about Palace, I guess we can talk about them. They're only 5 points away. Yeah. So if Glasser doesn't really start getting a couple wins, because he only won one game, and that was against Burnley. Yeah. If he keeps dropping points, maybe they could get dragged into it. So it's scary times for a few teams, but it is only one spot you do feel like they're fighting for.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up is Wolves against West Ham. Finished 2-1 to West Ham at Molineux. Both of us going for 1-1. And maybe when West Ham scored that goal with Paquetá from a penalty on 73 minutes, he thought we were on our way to a 5-pointer each. But no, James Ward-Prowse did get the winner with 5 minutes left to go. But I thought this was a classic game of a tale of two halves, where I thought Wolves were much the better team in the first half. West Ham didn't really offer much. And then second half, West Ham came to spoil the party of Wolves.
Yeah, it seems to be a theme same with West Ham as well. They don't really perform well in first halves and still seem to give the opposition control, and then they seem to have a bit more of a go in the second half and turn it around, and that's exactly what happened. I thought, to be fair, West Ham were a bit unlucky to give away a penalty. Aït-Nouri was adjudged to being fouled in the box. I thought it was quite a soft one in my opinion, but the referee ends up giving it, and Sarabia puts Wolves one up. But I felt like Wolves has been a classic case this season or recently, I should say, of doing a lot of running, doing well, but again, the lack of firepower in the forward line really costing them. They couldn't take full advantage of the dominance they had, and once West Ham came back into it, they didn't really have a response to that. Wolves, obviously, they got the penalty, definite handball on Max Kilman, and Ward-Prowse directly from a corner. What a goal! Yeah. What a goal! And you know he's unbelievable from set pieces. I'm pretty sure he meant that as well, the way he whipped it into that back post. Brilliant effort from James Ward-Prowse. I think that's probably the first time this season. I know Douglas Luiz has done it a few times.
First time this season, for sure.
Yeah, I think Luiz, maybe it was last season he did it, because I think he did it against Arsenal, didn't he? So brilliant effort from Ward-Prowse. But were Wolves robbed, I felt, because Kilman had that late equaliser, and from a corner, header from a corner, and VAR judged it was offside because there was a player standing in front of the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
It was
actually
difficult. Gary O'Neill described it as the worst decision of the season.
Gary O'Neill complains about refereeing decisions at the end of
He's had a right to
game.
a lot of times.
It's true, yeah. So what did you think it should have been disallowed?
It's one of those where before VAR, no one even it's not even a controversy, no one even thinks about it. And now VAR, they're looking for every little thing. I think in the current rules, I guess it's right. I think it's harsh because it's one of those where the keeper's never getting there. It's just there is a Wolves player standing there in offside, and he is in the eye line of the West Ham goalkeeper. So technically he's interfering with play, but I do feel for Kilman and Wolves, because it's one of those where the keeper was never going to get there. So it's just a harsh decision, but I guess by the rules of the game, it's got to be disallowed.
I'm so sick to death though of talking about these VAR decisions and is it given, is it not given, this, that. I mean, West Ham themselves have had decisions given for them and against them wrongly over the past 4 or 5 weeks so many times. Wolves have had it all season. I mean, every team has had it all season, so I guess it's just one of those things where you're just going to have to accept either it goes for you, it doesn't go for you, and that's it. Big
win for West Ham though in the race for top 6, because they were winless in I think 6, and they got that win. They're now 1 point behind Man United. Actually, and if you're looking for that last Europa League spot, a real dogfight there with that, at the moment 2 points separating United, West Ham, and Newcastle.
So what, Europa League is just 6th this season?
Well, it's usually 6th. It's usually 6th, and then 5th. The cup winners. But it depends who wins the cup.
Well, it also depends on what happens with the 5th place as well.
And depends usually 5th and 6th, and then another one for the cup winner. But it depends.
If England get Champions League for 5th, does that mean it goes down to 6th and 7th?
Yeah.
Wow. So that means the top 8 of England will be going into Europe. That's mad.
Yeah,
that is mad.
Yeah, exactly what it means.
But let's say, for argument's sake, that England are going to get the 5th spot. So that means 6th and 7th will get Europa League. Out of Chelsea, Newcastle, West Ham and United, who are you backing for that Europa League spot? Maybe even Brighton as well.
Yeah, Brighton's still in there.
Wolves are only a point behind as well.
I know, it's all very tight. It's all very tight. You could even go down to Bournemouth.
Fulham.
I mean, the race for you, though, that last European spot is very, very tight. I think Newcastle have a good chance if they can get some players back for that last little run in. I think, because they got 4th last year and they were pretty good. United never play well in any game, but they do seem to bag results. So I think West Ham still being in Europe could hurt them. So I think Newcastle for 6th is a good bet.
Newcastle and United for the 2 Europa League spots.
Yeah,
I'm kind of thinking the same. I would say Chelsea, but every time they seem to have turned the corner, another disaster is just waiting for them around the corner. But we'll get into that in a minute. But let's go to the Amex. Brighton lost to Arsenal by 3-0, their second home defeat of the season. Both of us went for 2-1 to Arsenal. And look, the Arsenal goals got kicked off by a horrible, horrible decision in terms of the penalty. I thought he definitely got the ball. I'm not sure why VAR doesn't look at that and overturn the decision. I thought it was quite a disgrace. But like I said, I'm just sick to death of talking about these kind of decisions, whether they've given or not. But I thought for the most part, Brighton started off really well in the game. with slick passing. But I thought Arsenal was so impressive, to be fair. I really did. And I thought they controlled the majority of the game. They got the goals and it was a massively deserved victory. And they just look unbeatable at the moment.
They just couldn't create anything, could they, Brighton? All that possession, Arsenal were like happy for Brighton to have the ball and they would just counter on them. And then when they had the ball, they controlled it and Brighton really didn't have an answer. It was a very controlled performance from Arsenal. And that's the difference between this Arsenal team and maybe last season's, because last season's was vibrant, was energetic, was going at you gung-ho. This Arsenal team is a lot more controlled and they don't give up any chances, and they know when they go forward they're good enough to create chances against any team, and that's what they're showing at the moment. And maybe all the work they're putting in the early part of the season is now paying off, because there was a lot of criticism early parts of the season when they're not playing the best football, and now it seems that they're in this manner now where they're very controlled, very solid defensively, not giving up any. I think they're the best defence in the league. I think they've conceded 4 goals this year. Don't concede any chances, and then they still have that ability to unlock defences with their football. But yeah, you're right. I think the penalty was a joke. It was never a penalty. Obviously, the opening goal in these games is always crucial when it's deadlock. Especially, I think it was just before half time as well. So it was a crucial time for Arsenal to take the lead when they did. And I think there's clear movement on the ball from Lamptey. I don't really understand why that wasn't pulled back. It was a clear winning of the ball. It was a fair challenge. I know he didn't get a real clean effort on the ball, but I think he gets enough on it to suggest he won. There was a clear movement of the ball, so I think he wins the ball. I don't think it's a foul. But to be fair, the other 2 goals, especially the second one from Havertz, really well worked move from Arsenal. Jorginho played in behind and Havertz tapped home, and then just a breakaway goal for Trossard to seal it at 3-0, and a really great win. And this is probably one of the games you earmark as a bit of a banana skin for Arsenal in the run-in, and they made light work of it.
Yeah, they really did. And you're looking at this Arsenal team and it's just like, how the hell is anyone supposed to score against them? Nobody can lay a glove on them at the moment.
City can't even score against them at the Etihad.
Yeah.
And when that's happening, that's a big concern.
Moving on to Old Trafford, in the big derby, Manchester United 2, Liverpool 2, in a massive, massive blow for Liverpool in the title race. I went for 3-2 and I thought I was going to nick that 5-pointer at the end. Sim went for 3-1. And I tell you what, is there a luckier team than Manchester United in the Premier League this season? How many times have you watched Man United get eaten alive on the football pitch and come away with points? It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I just can't believe what I'm watching half the time. I mean, Liverpool should have scored about 7 in that first half. Darwin Núñez missing chances, Szoboszlai missing chances. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They do get the goal with Luis Diaz, and you're thinking, all right, Liverpool are going to assert their dominance in the game now. They're going to go get a few other goals. And then out of nowhere, Bruno from the halfway line hitting it over Kelleher from a bad pass out the back from Liverpool, and you're thinking, oh God, is this actually happening? And then then they go 2-1 up with an unbelievable goal from Kobbie Mainoo. I mean, they seem to be scoring these worldies in these massive games when they're so under the cosh. It's unbelievable. And then Liverpool get it back with the penalty from Mo Salah, and Liverpool and Klopp must be just scratching their heads saying, how the hell did we not win that game?
I don't know what it is about strikers when they play Man United this season. They all seem to turn into not even prime, but the worst version of Emil Heskey probably when in front of goal. It's crazy. They keep missing chance after chance. Whenever Man United give up so many chances, and in this game was no exception. Liverpool were cutting through them so easily that whenever Liverpool went forward, it just seemed like it was so easy for them to create chances. Yet they just couldn't finish for love nor money. They did take the lead, but 1-0, being 1-0 was basically losing at that point because of how many chances they had, and they were asking for trouble, only being 1-0 ahead at that time. And when you make a mistake like that, obviously Bruno netting a goal out absolutely nothing, you can't blame anyone but yourselves when you've missed that many chances and you allow the opposition one. Basically, when Bruno scored, that should have been 5-1 instead of 1-1, and that's going to be very, very frustrating for Jurgen Klopp. Obviously, they got back at 2-2. And they even had chances after that to score. Luis Diaz had that great chance right at the end, which he volleyed over the bar. Salah had chances. Elliott had a chance with the last kick of the game. They peppered Man United with so many shots, but they just couldn't find that winner, and Man United got away with one. It's crazy to me when I hear Ten Hag after the game saying, oh, I'm so proud of the team. Look how well we played. You can see we're improving. I'm like, what are you watching? You should have lost 10-1. You should have conceded 10 goals. Honestly, if you're proud of that, I don't understand what the standards are of Man United at the moment. I understand they did get a draw against a very good Liverpool team, and you got to take something away from that. The fact that they didn't give up and they did end up turning it around and getting a 2-1 lead. But even then, they couldn't hang on to it. They also have that propensity of getting back and not hanging on to things. They've done that a few times as well. And I think it's the 7th point they've lost just this week in the last minute, or the last 10 minutes, I should say. They've got propensity of conceding late goals. They're just all over the place, Man United. But I can't believe that they're as high as they are, because the way they've played this season, I just can't even remember. Even when they win, they don't play well. Like, they've not played well the whole season. Klopp said after the game, because he knows Arsenal have to play them at Old Trafford later in the season, and he said if Man United play like this against Arsenal, they're definitely going to lose.
Yeah, and it's true. They will definitely lose if they play like that against Arsenal, and they'll lose quite heavily. But I think that's a bit of gamesmanship from Klopp to try and get Man United to give an extra bit of motivation into the game. But it's shocking from Liverpool not to get the 3 points in this game. Very lucky from Man United to get a point. And look at the stats alone. 62% possession to 38% possession, 28 shots to 9, 7 on target to 5, and 3.67 xG to 0.70.
7 big chances to 1.
Unbelievable.
For Liverpool. They'll be kicking themselves, and not more so because that gives the advantage to Arsenal on goal difference in the title race. And now they're level on points with Arsenal, and obviously Man City just 1 point behind. So I don't think there's ever been a tighter title race in history probably than this, I would say.
Who's favourites to win the title?
Well, the way Arsenal are not conceding goals, I mean, I would say the fact that Liverpool in Europa League instead of Champions League gives them a slight edge, and I think their fixture list is slightly more favourable than Arsenal. Although I think Man City have a very favourable fixture list, but they're in the Champions League as well. They've got to commit a lot of resources to those ties against Real Madrid. So, oh man, it's so hard to call. I think still just Liverpool, but it's anyone's guess. It's anyone's guess at the moment. I'm still going to side it. I know Liverpool dropped points, and they haven't been playing that well recently as well.
Give me a top 3, as in like 1 to 3 of the big probabilities.
It's literally half a percentage in it. Probably, I would say it's that tight. I just got a feeling Arsenal are like reliant on certain players more than the other two. Not
so sure.
I think
maybe the 2 centre backs.
I feel like the other 2 teams have dealt with more injuries and stuff. I don't know, like Saka was to pick up a big injury or something. Like, would they be as formidable? I do question it. But he might not. He might just play every game, and that'll be that.
If Rodri goes down to injury.
They're very reliant on them. He's very reliant on Rodri.
Van Dijk,
but City, play Villa, they rest Haaland and De Bruyne, no problem, win 4-1. Can Arsenal do that, like against a good team like Villa?
Maybe not. I know they did it against Luton, but
Luton's Luton, yeah. I don't know if Arsenal could against Villa on Saturday can rest Saka and like Martinelli or whatever. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I don't Could that make a difference today if they beat Bayern and they're still in the Champions League? I don't know if these things can make a difference. And games are coming thick and fast. But they are looking unbeatable at the moment with their defence. I have to say that they've got the best defence. City are really coming into it. They're scoring goals for fun at the moment. Liverpool just seem to find any sort of way of winning, but they didn't on the weekend. But they do have the whole season found a way of winning. There's a really good case for all 3. There's a great case for all 3. I'm going to say Liverpool going to win it. I'm going to say Arsenal 2nd, City 3rd.
Wow. I'm going City to win it.
City to win it.
I think, for me, City are the favourites. I think City have got the best fixtures from now until the end of the season. I think they're coming into to form right now with scoring a lot of goals, able to rest these players like you're saying, so they're fresh for the following game. I think City are slight favourites. I think Arsenal are second favourites. In terms of the way they're playing, formidable defence, look unbeatable at the moment. But I do think Arsenal have a few banana skins away from home potentially against Spurs, against Manchester United later on in the season. You never know what's going to happen at Old Trafford. How they could play the worst game in the world, Man United, and still take away a point.
They could have an Everton team fighting for their lives on the last day as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Not Chelsea.
Liverpool, I put as third. Liverpool, I look at being the most unconvincing out of the three, but they do seem to be getting results week by week. And I look at Liverpool, and they also have quite a few banana skins away from home. Man United was just one which they dropped points. They have to go to Everton pretty soon as well, and on the back of their drop points and on the back of Liverpool's record away at Everton as well, it doesn't read for pretty reading for Liverpool fans. So I put Liverpool as third favourites to win the title, in my opinion. So,
has there ever been a title race at this point in the season where there's 1 point between the top three? I don't think it's ever happened, has it?
Well, apparently I saw a stat saying there hasn't been a 3-horse race since before the League began.
Yeah, I'm saying the Premier League, I don't think this has ever happened
There's
before.
never been a 3-horse race at this point of the season. In the
Unprecedented.
Yeah.
Incredible.
All right, let's move on to Sheffield United against Chelsea. It finished 2-2 at Bramall Lane. Both us going for 2-1 to Chelsea. And another embarrassing result for Chelsea, this time at the hands of Sheffield United. And after that draw with Burnley, and then that game against Man United happens, they get a miraculous 4-3 win, the latest comeback ever in the Premier League. You thought, all right, they're going to take this into the next game and they'll probably have a convincing win against Sheffield United. Nope. Pochettino is bang in trouble once again, and I couldn't believe they didn't win this game. They go 1-0 up early. Jayden Bogle gets it back for Sheffield United before half-time. They go 2-1 up, and then Ollie McBurney is there to slot it home in the final minutes of the game.
Yeah, I think Chelsea fans were thinking, Burnley at home, down to 10 men, and then should have lost that game. They end up drawing 2-2 against a 10-man Burnley when they're 2-1 up against them. And they're thinking, it can't get any worse. Then Pochettino goes, hold my beer. And they get the Sheffield United coming up, bottom of the league. And not only did they not win, they didn't deserve to win. They were terrible. They were dominated by Sheffield United. Sheffield United should have won, probably. They were unlucky to be 2-1 down. Some of the defending was absolutely horrific from Chelsea on the day. Obviously, they got the early goal for Thiago Silva, but they just really didn't. They struggled to really dominate the game, and it always felt like Sheffield United were going to come into it. They really lacked control. How can you lack control against the bottom of the league? Sheffield United were pretty much down. And after the game, Ollie McBurney, he's talking. They were asking him, how do you keep mustering up these kind of performances? Because obviously they took Liverpool quite late on the midweek, and they're asking him, are you still believing about safety and stuff? He's like, well, it's really just about personal pride at this point. You got to fight for. He's like, Chelsea are playing against a team who are just fighting for personal pride. They're not even fighting for anything, and they still can't dominate them and win the game. It's ridiculous. And I have to say, that goal right at the end, Ollie McBurney is standing inside the 6-yard box, and he has time to let the ball bounce, let the ball go in front of him and slot it home. He had time to, sit down and have a cup of tea and then finish it. It was ridiculous. I've never seen in the Premier League, it's very rare to see a player with a ball bouncing towards the keeper just have time to take a touch and finish inside the penalty box in the 99th minute, sorry. I thought it was atrocious. You never have time like that in the Premier League, and that's just a sign of the shambles at the moment at Chelsea.
Well, Agent Pochettino working his magic once again. We all told you he's magic, don't you know? Maurizio Pochettino, keep him in that job is what I say.
Well, Chelsea are unbeaten in 6 though.
What a great job Poch is doing.
Unbelievable.
What a great job. Keep him in the job, that's what I say. But why did they take off Cole Palmer with 15 minutes to go when they were 2-1 up?
Apparently he was having a bad game. That's what
is that what it was?
Yeah.
Bad game.
Madueke scored though, a nice goal from him. So back off the back of winning a penalty in midweek. So maybe he's starting to come into a bit of form. Yeah,
maybe. Shame no one else is. Next up is, last but not least, Tottenham against Nottingham Forest. 3-1 to Tottenham. Sim went for 3-1, so we have our 5-pointer this week. I went for 2-0, so I get a point on the board for this one. Spurs took the lead early through an own goal. Great work from Timo Werner. We looked so dominant in those first 20 minutes, and then we kind of just dropped the standards for the rest of that first half. They get their equaliser against the run of play at that point, but by the end of the half they deserved to be drawing or at least even winning by the time half time came. But look, second half Tottenham happens, Ange makes 2 changes, and I thought we were well deserved our win by the end of it.
Yeah, it's classic Spurs stepping up in the second half, hitting a team with a cluster with 2 goals in 5 minutes. Really good, well worked goals as well. Obviously Van de Ven with an absolute howitzer from the edge of the box. out of firing it into the top corner, absolute top bins from him, and then obviously Pedro Porro following up and make it 3-1. Once it went to 3-1, the game was dead. And Spurs had some struggles in the first half to control the game. They did seem to sort that out in the second half and ran out deserved winners. And in terms of the race for the top four, that really puts them right in the driver's seat at the moment. We're into the top four now, level on points with Villa, but a better goal difference and have a game in hand as well. In terms of top five now, fifth is to be Champions League, which is still a bit up in the air, but still England are looking pretty good for it at the moment. If fifth is going to be Champions League, Spurs are 11 points away from sixth now, so looking pretty good for that, I would say. But in terms of if they're not going to rely on the fifth place and just go for top four, still pretty tight, but Spurs definitely looking pretty good for it now.
Yeah, absolutely. 11 points above Manchester United in sixth. It would take an almighty collapse for Man United to finish above Spurs this season, albeit Spurs do have very hard fixtures, but I can't see us dropping that many points, and on top of that, Man U gaining that many points as well. So I think we should be good for the top five. And having said that, in terms of how the fifth is looking for Champions League, I think it's as simple as if Arsenal beat Bayern Munich. Is that done and dusted?
Pretty much. Or if West Ham beat Leverkusen, one of these things goes in our favour. Because I think at the moment it's very tight between England and Germany. Germany is slightly ahead, but I think England have 4 teams left. Germany have 3. So if any more Germans get knocked out, I think it's going to be a pretty foregone conclusion at this point.
Yeah, and also you've got Liverpool, who are favourites for the Europa League, and Villa, who are favourites for the Conference League as well. And I think Man City are favourites for the Champions League.
It's a near certainty, but if Bayern knock out Leverkusen, knock out Arsenal, and Leverkusen knock out West Ham, and then one of the other English teams somehow goes out unexpectedly, then all of a sudden it turns again. But at the moment, you're looking at probably like over 80% chance it does probably go to fifth place, I would say, to England. So it is a near certainty, but you can't, it's not over till the fat lady sings, as they say. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's good. And also, if you look at the form in terms of the sides looking for that top 4 spot as well, Villa and United both only have 1 win in their last 5. Spurs, 3 wins their last 5. I think it's 4 wins their last 6. So much better form than the other teams at the moment. So, but Spurs and Villa do have some tough fixtures to come, so it could all turn. Yeah,
Villa going Arsenal away without Douglas Luiz next game. He picked up his 10th booking. Spurs.
Does that mean 2 suspended then?
Is it 2?
Well, if there's 10 bookings, must be a double suspension.
They said on the commentary, they only said he's missing Arsenal. So maybe it's, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure the actual situation there. Maybe it is 2, but I thought on the TV they only said 1 game. They only mentioned the Arsenal game. But Spurs, they are up against it over the next couple of weeks. Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, Liverpool away, and in between that they got Chelsea away as well. So 4 very hard fixtures.
Yeah, but this is how they like it. They like these kind of fixtures. So part of me feels like they could rise to the occasion. But even if they do, they could still end up losing. So
hey, the last time that we needed to beat Chelsea and Arsenal in the space of a week to get top 4, it worked out not bad for us.
So why not?
Let's hope it does again. But let's move on and finish off on the star men. Sim went for Nick Jackson, who got 0 goals, 0 assists.
I'm done picking Chelsea attackers now. That's the last time.
You did all right with Cole Palmer.
Yeah, Cole Palmer was right, to be fair. But I've picked Mudryk, I've picked Sterling, and I think it's just been a bit of a mess.
Cole Palmer scored 2 goals in a 2-2 draw with Burnley.
Yeah, so true. That was all right.
And I went for Heung-min Son, who got an assist on the day, and he was so close to getting that goal at the end, which would have ruined your 5-pointer and got me an extra 5 points. So it would have been quite a bit of swing in terms of the results. But we do end off with you 13 points ahead this week. So
not bad.
The gap seems to be getting bigger and bigger, unfortunately.
Let's hope it keeps going that way.
Yeah, let's hope not. But that is your review of the Prem this week. Let me know your thoughts of the Premier League action in the comment section below. Who do you think are favourites for the title? Who do you think will finish in the top 4? And who do you think will go down this season? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll see you next time.